Hi everyone, I hope you're still doing very well and enjoying the beginning of spring. We're on the doorstep to the summer, and we're still continuing with our podcast of When the World Has Stopped. I'm going to greet my next guest. We're going to join the conversation with a person from another country today. Let's warm welcome my guest from Germany, from Berlin, my very good friend, Viola. Hello, Viola, can you hear us? Hello?
Hey.
How are you? Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, same here. Happy to see you.
It has been a while since we met last.
Yeah, it must have been 1 year.
Yeah. No, a little less than 1 year. I left Berlin in July 2021, so
well,
a little less than 1 year. So we basically met during the start of the lockdown, start of this crazy things going around the world. I didn't really introduce you so much, so I want to give this liberty of doing so to you yourself. If you would like to introduce yourself to our audience, tell them just brief, who is Viola, what is she doing, what are her interests, in which field she is, and so on.
Okay, so I hope that I'm not going to describe too much. Please interrupt me. My name is Viola, I'm 37 and I live in Berlin since last year, January. I'm German. I'm originally from Mainz, which is close to Frankfurt, and yeah, I'm a psychologist. I've been working a lot in prison in the past, and I started working with homeless in Berlin. That's mainly one of the reasons why I wanted to come over here, because I wanted to do something in and for the city, and also because Berlin has a huge problem with homeless people. Well, this is mainly what I do for a living. I only work part-time as I decided that could be better for my mental health. I'm doing a little bit of online counseling as well in my free time, just for a little bit of a pocket money. And yeah, who am I? I love to go for walks. I love to do sports. I love to meet friends, go out for food. I would love to go dancing, but I don't even know if I still like it.
When was the last time you were dancing?
More than a year ago, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Must have been last January, yeah, in Berlin. Yeah. Well, that's basically the main information you can have or you can get for now, I think.
Great. So you're actually the right person to connect to in terms of the human psychology, the mental health matters and so on, because it's basically your field. That's what you're doing. And you're doing actually quite interesting way of doing so, because a lot of people after having, not a lot of, I would say, some people after graduating such field, they're going up in like private consultancies and working and charging people some couple of hundreds an hour and stuff, but you're working with people who actually can't even pay you a cent for what you're doing, just from out of your own curiosity and interest in the field.
Yeah.
But also, while we're actually going out there and trying to help others to stay fit with their mental health, I guess this situation may and could probably affect yourself too in some other way. And I'm actually looking first to hear, how did you feel about when this pandemic was announced and it's like, okay, we're going to lock everything. How was your feeling at that time? And then I would like to know what actually were your experience through your patients.
Yeah, actually, I would love to focus on my mental health in this, because I need to tell you that when the lockdown happened, I was already mental ill, which I didn't know at that time. Because when I came to Berlin, that was a huge change in my life, because it was the first time. I've been traveling a lot, but that was like the first time when I came to a different city without friends, without families, and I started to struggle. Because I already had some anxieties due to different reasons, and they became very strong when I moved to Berlin. Actually, during that time when I met you, But I don't even know if we talked about that so in particular.
We touched
At the
some
beginning.
parts, but not really going too deep
Yeah,
into that.
yeah, exactly. Because I was trying to hide it all the time. Because for me, it's always, as a psychologist, you should know better. But it's like I thought about this in Germany. We say something like the person who repairs the shoes has the baddest
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I moved to Berlin, and I was living in an apartment, in a shared apartment where I didn't feel very well. Also, I felt very lonely in this apartment. And first, when I started my work, I also had some struggles to get into the new field. And and then the lockdown came, to answer your question. And I became super anxious. So I had a lot of panic attacks. I had a lot of like very strange ideas that I'm going to die now from this virus, which is everywhere. I'm going to be isolated from my friends and family. I'm going to die alone, blah, blah, blah. So that was really, really strong in the beginning. And it was hard for me to focus on something else for many months, to be honest, because everything felt so insecure, because my own situation in my life was already insecure, the new city, no friends, new job, blah, blah, blah. And it took me a while to understand that I became depressed. Not only anxious, but also depressed. And then finally, a friend took me to a psychiatrist, to a doctor, which I never wanted, because normally this is only for my clients, but not for myself. And but I think it's very important to talk about this topic, because it comes up more and more, especially in these times. And it's still so less people really know what it means to be depressed or to be anxious. And some people just tell you, let's go for a run, then you feel better. But no, I'm depressed. That's a little bit of a difference. Yeah. And so she took me to the doctor. I was diagnosed. And from then on, I felt like, oh, wow, now I know what's wrong with me in this pandemic situation. Now I know a little bit better what to do. And then I started to work on very actively on my mental health. And this is actually, for me, it was funny because we had the pandemic and the lockdown, I had a lot of time to focus on myself. And I had a lot of time to think about what I need and to do things that I felt like they were, like, for example, meditation or yoga, sports, which I couldn't do for a while because I was so anxious and depressed. But then after a while, when I took some medication also because I had to, because I could not handle it on my own anymore. Yeah. Which also took me a long time to understand that this could be important. And then I realized, it's so all the pressure was gone to go out and to meet new people and to make a new life in this new city, because there was the lockdown and I had time to focus on myself. I could easily go to bed at 8 in the evening and just sleep for 12 hours, and it was okay because there was nothing going on in the world outside. So funnily, I would say that the lockdown helped me to improve my mental health.
Wow. But at the same time, it piled up the things, like by being with your own, and plus moving to a new place, not knowing new people. At first, I mean, it had some sort of pressure on the condition which you didn't know that you're having. And then it piled up, and then you learned how to find the benefit out of the situation you're down there and start seeing the positive side of it as well, what's affecting you.
Of course, it took me a while. It doesn't came from yesterday to today or so. It took me many months to understand that and to appreciate actually the time that happened, because it gave me so many opportunities. And this is something that I really learned, or what I can also say as a psychologist, because I think the problem with this whole pandemic thing was, or maybe still is, that people are waiting for the situation to change. But as long as you are waiting for something that is not happening, you just become more unhappy, Yeah. And it's so important to think about, to learn how to accept this situation. Of course, it's shit. Of course, we all miss stuff. Yeah, doing things we like, seeing people that we love, blah, blah, blah. I totally understand. And I do have these feelings too. But when you start focusing on the things that are possible and to I don't know, to find maybe your own new lifestyle in this pandemic, let's call it a pandemic lifestyle, whatever. I think then it's easier to handle, because then you're not only in this waiting state or waiting for better times.
Yeah. I mean, I also try to adapt to this pandemic lifestyle, what you're saying down there. I mean, and it happened to be to the time when I'm like, okay, I'm going to have some free time nowadays because I did this. So I have only to do that. And I'm going to have some free time. I'm going to spend it in that way or another way. And then it appeared to be, yes, I have free time, but I don't have opportunity to do everything I had because this is impossible. So I need to adapt to the way on doing the things which I can do in that time. But returning back to the depression, which coming up from the anxiety and so on, you went there and you said like, okay, I need to see the professional, because you're professional in the field yourself, and you know that this is not a normal, and you went and you were seeking for the help down there. But there are a lot of people down there who do not know that this is not normal. They think it's like, maybe I'm in a bad mood, maybe something is wrong, I need to fix something or whatever, and they try different ways of treating the situation, or they just try not to do anything and they just go deeper and deeper in the condition they're facing though. Coming to the way of getting out of depression, I mean, this became nowadays a buzzword in a way. Some people just feel tired, they call it depression, but this is more complicated. It's more complex thing than what we think it is, you know. Coming to the real meaning of depression, a real condition of depression, what do you do to be able to get out from that feeling? What helps you, or what you have seen, witness helping the others? What you would be share with people? And I wouldn't call it advice because it's very personal in certain ways. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, but something which you could share from your own perspective, from your own experience down there.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to add that, as you already said, depression is very personal. So that means symptoms of a depression are very different for every person. So my depression can be totally different than your depression. And also I want to say that the depression doesn't mean being sad, because we are all sad from time to time. As you said, we are all having bad days, are in a bad mood when something happens to us, or sometimes it's just the hormones or whatever. Yeah. For me, it was like I stopped feeling. I just stopped feeling, and I didn't realize it. I just realized that when I, for example, was preparing to meet a friend or my family, which I totally like, it just didn't feel like anything. I wasn't feeling any happiness, or I also didn't feel any sadness. I just stopped feeling at all. So I was totally empty inside. And this is the part that became very, very exhausting, because when you live life and your feeling is constantly like this, so why do you live for? What do you live for when everything just feels the same, like nothing, you know? And then for me, it was like, I just tried to be, or to try to be the person that I was before. So what I did that helped me is I was still going to work. It was so exhausting, and I couldn't hardly concentrate on things. So sometimes I would just go to work for 2 hours and then go back home. But I need to say that I have a job where this is possible, because I'm planning my work time just for myself. I don't have an office job where I need to go from 9 to 5. So if I had that, or I have had that, I would never have gone to work. Or even like a full-time job would not have been possible for me. So I was just like trying to manage myself during the day. And sometimes it was Monday, and then immediately it was Friday, and I just didn't remember what I did the whole week, because I was just trying to survive and just trying to stay a part of this life, you know. And I think this was not always good. Because I think sometimes I should have stayed in bed and just sleep and give myself a little rest. But also I think this was mainly the part why I came out of this, because I just kept on trying to do the things and to not maybe make decisions in doing that time, because maybe they would be wrong also. But this is something, because I knew what it is. As you said, I realized very quick that something was wrong, but it took me a while to tell myself that it is depression, although I already knew it. Yeah. And also, I think it's just, I would advise just to talk to someone, because depression can kill if you don't talk to someone. Because when you are in the worst state of this sickness, maybe some even suicidal thoughts come up. That happened to me also. And I never wanted to kill myself because I really love life, but suddenly these thoughts, they come up, and then it just feels like, oh, that could be a solution too. Yeah. So, and when these thoughts come up, it becomes very dangerous if you don't talk to someone. Yeah. And also I felt very ashamed. So I had to think like wisely, who am I going to talk to? Because I also didn't want someone to worry about me, because I wanted to be okay, but I think, like, I don't know how it is in other countries, of course, but in Germany, it's very easy to find a hotline, for example, where you can call without telling your name to the person and just tell them that you have a problem, or tell them your feelings and ask them what to do. But I know this is like a big step to first to understand that you need help, secondly to ask someone that you need the help, and thirdly, maybe you don't even know what kind of help you need. Yeah.
But does it like you can speak to, do you really have to speak to anyone, or it has to be a person, the professional in the field, or it can be any good person who can literally listen to you without any judgment? Or can it be you just literally can put the mirror in front of you and just talk to mirror to yourself at the end of the day? It may sound funny, but sometimes, I mean, the inner voice is something which is inside, but when we let it go out, we realize there are much more things than we think we could think about. That might be a bit complicated to understand, but we just need to bring some thoughts, give it a voice, let's say, give some thoughts a voice.
Yeah. It's funny because I never thought about talking to the mirror or suggesting this to someone, but actually that could help too, because I would always suggest to write down the thoughts you have in your mind and the feelings, to write a diary, just like, as you said, that something has the chance to come out, so you don't have to carry it all the time. Of course, this is not going to heal you from your depression, but this could be a first step to sit with your situation or with your feelings or your sickness or whatever, because a sickness it's not me, I'm not my sickness, but it's a part of me, and I also have to learn how to deal with it. If that was my fault in the beginning, I was like, this is not mine, this is not, I don't want it, just go away, but then it only became more threatening to me, or I became even more, my fear just increases by doing that. And I think talking to someone doesn't mean that someone has to be a professional. If you want to have a whole therapy in the end, which I would probably mostly suggest when someone is depressed, when it's a severe depression. If it's just a light depression, then it might really help to go for a run every day, because we know that this causes this is, how do you say, the same process in the brain are going to start when you go for a run, also when you take the medication against depression, but it only helps when the depression is very light. So when you have a severe depression and you hardly know how to survive the day, it sounds ridiculous when someone tells you go for a run, So this is why you should wisely choose the person you want to talk to, because you don't want this. Like my mom, for example, I love my mom, but she would always say, just everything will be okay. But this is nothing that I need in this moment, She just means it in a good way, because she's a bit overwhelmed maybe too with this topic. Yeah,
I mean, talking to the family might help in some cases. You can feel the love and care down there, but sometimes they might be too careful or too positive thinking, or not let's say not really understanding you in a way what you say down there, because they don't want to accept the things which you actually come at the end to accept, that listen, I have this condition, because not every person can understand like you really have a depression or something. I mean, unfortunately, really unfortunately, lately we read in the news that some young people committed suicide or something, and then they ask their parents, but I've never seen where it's coming from, and I didn't know this was such a quiet person, everything was nice. we don't know. The matter is, we don't know what's in the head of the person. And then coming to act of suicide, I don't know where you need to hit to come to that level. You mentioned that it was coming to your head, this thoughts, which probably I believe you need to find some motivation to live, and some purpose in life, or something really you appreciate in life that you don't want to say goodbye to this world. I mean, for me, the life is the greatest gift we can have, and then I really love enjoy the world, and I think there's so much amazing things around us that we need to just be open to see them and to accept them. And there are situations when there are just gray or black blanket in front of us, and we don't see the world. We don't see the beauties of the world. We don't see the nice things of the world. We don't see the caring side of human around us. But it's there. It exists, and sometimes we need just to refocus. I mean, it's a big word to say just. It's not just. It requires the effort and energy. However, you managed to come out from that moment, and what was really helping, and how did you shift your mind, like, to think in a different direction? Because this requires energy. This requires certain input from the person's side.
Yeah, actually, for me, it was the medication I started to take, because I was not possible to do this on my own anymore, and it took me many weeks to take this decision. To finally start taking the medication. But for me, it was the reason because my body was so painful. I was in pain every day for many months, and I stopped sleeping, which is one of the symptoms of a depression or an anxiety disorder too. So for me, it was, I haven't had, or I didn't sleep for many weeks. I could not even drive my car anymore because I don't even know how I went to work, to be honest, during this time. And then I didn't fall asleep at work on my desk, but I had to take the medication because it was not possible anymore to manage it on my own, actually. Yeah. Which is not necessary for everyone who has a depression or who has anxieties, because there is a lot of wonderful things you can do. Like, as I already mentioned, the yoga and meditation thingy is something that is already scientifically proved that it helps against it, that it helps to focus your mind, to shift the thoughts into a positive direction. But also it's a progress. It's not going to happen from today on. It's not going to work immediately. And this is something that requires a lot of power to stick with it, although you don't feel an effort right away. And to me, honestly, it was always like, I remembered how the world was before I became sick. And I urgently wanted to be that person again, or to have my feelings back. And this is why I kept on doing just everything, sports and yoga and meditation. And I also started a psychotherapy, of course, which I had to wait for, unfortunately, for almost half a year, which is normal in Germany, because we don't have that many psychologists with free capacities. And I just went on seeing people that I like, for example, and just spent a lot of time with my parents, for example, also, that I went back home many weekends just to be with my parents, because I felt more secure with them, and to have just to have a rest. And I think this is so important to realize what you need, because every person needs something else in a depression, or like in general. So I think it's very good to sit down with yourself, and to also to learn to say no, because there's so much pressure coming from work or from society, and to learn how to say no to someone because you don't have the power today to help them, maybe, or to go for a walk with them, to maybe today you had a good idea to see a friend tonight, but tonight you're not in the mood. Just call your friend and say, I can't. All these things are so important, just to listen to yourself.
Well, but would you agree, or would you say that it's very important to have the people around you, like people you love or who loves you? I mean, not only at this moment, but in general, we always say that, yeah, we need to have people we love, we need to have our families, we need to have this, we need to have that. But especially at those moments, but you mentioned that you were going to your parents' house pretty much often. I remember that time every now and then, certain weekend you were traveling there and you were like enjoying being around them. So we actually really need those people around us, right?
Well, I can say it for me, at least, I was always the person who loved to meet new people, and I was traveling a lot, and it was so easy to be without my good friends and without families for many months or sometimes a year. But I still had in mind one day I can come back. I will be back, But when I came to Berlin, I felt like, oh, wow, but this is my new life now. I'm not going to go back to friends and family anymore. I have to start a new one. Yeah. Which was my decision also. And a lot of friends asked me, are you sure that this was the right decision because you moved to Berlin and then you became depressed? But for me, moving to Berlin was a dream for many, many years.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, no, I'm going to survive this shitty depression now because I want this life in Berlin, But yeah, I mean, I cannot give the advice to travel to good friends and family. I mean, of course, it would be nice, but maybe you don't have the very good relation to your family, or maybe you don't have good friends or whatever. I mean, it can all happen, So I wouldn't put that on a advice list,
And what about exercises? You were mentioning that it helps in the lower level of depression to do exercises to stay fit. Does this, like, let's say, the bigger wave of the mental condition comes up by developing small depression levels every day, or it comes like a hurricane all of a sudden and you just fall into the depression? So what I mean is, if you have, for example, you are starting having some sort of feelings of anxiety, you start doing some exercise on daily basis, half an hour running or doing yoga. Can it, like, in, let's say, 6 months, 7 months, 1 year, actually help you to prevent from falling into the deep depression?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. And I think yes, because I think all these skills are things that I learned during my depression. And now I'm doing them on a regular basis because I want to avoid to come to that state again. Yeah. So they became my daily habits. And I'm sure that this time, I'm not sure that the depression will never come back again, because unfortunately, when you have one episode, it's more likely to get a second one and a third one. And it was not my first one, actually, because I already had one during my time at university, like 10 years ago, but not that hard like this time. But I think my skills that I develop, they will help me to maybe detect the depression much earlier than before, or maybe the warning signs before I fall into that next episode. That's at least what I hope. And it feels very good to me to have these skills, because it gives me more, how can I say, I have the feeling that I can do something for myself. I'm not just like sitting there and the depression is crushing over me. I have at least a little bit of power. But depression can also come from the genes, because maybe your mom was depressed, or your grandfather, or whatever. So this is a different part, because to me, the depression happened because I moved to Berlin. And then because the pandemic started, and I'm pretty sure that there's other people who experience this kind of depression because of the pandemic, because they lost people or their lives or their daily habits or whatever. I can just talk like for myself in this situation. And for example, to me, it's like I said to myself, I'm never going to move again. If the depression is the outcome, I'm not going to move anymore.
But it doesn't stop you from living the life and enjoying the beauties of it. I mean, you're not going to live in the fear, oh, I'm going to fall into that again. I mean, that's not all the purpose. The purpose is just to get out from there and start appreciating, getting your feelings back. And I hope you're there. If you're not there, you're very, very close to reach that. To reach that, and it's great seeing that you're working at that level. That you're finding energy, you're finding the strengths to go to fight for that. That's fantastic, and I really wish you all the best with that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it took me 1 year. Like last year, have you asked me? Would you have asked me for this? I could not have done it because I was so exhausted. I was overwhelmed by every little thing that someone asked me to do. But now I feel like I'm still not 100%, and probably I will never be, or the same as I was before. Of course not, because myself has developed too. And but I think we're getting there.
Great. What would be your message to the people out there who are passing through hard times in their life? Just a small notes. I wouldn't call it advice, but rather a message, a note, perhaps a direction you could share from your side.
Well, to me, it helped me a lot to tell myself that everything is okay the way it is right now. So to not put any pressure on yourself, because it is a pandemic. It is super shit. We all have anxieties and insecurities. It is super normal to feel sad more than before. It is super normal to have concentration issues or whatever. So this pandemic, or maybe it's also super okay to not sleep very well in a pandemic. Yeah. And my advice is just to think that, or to tell yourself that everything that happens to you is normal, like the confusing feelings that we have. And but there's still a lot of power in yourself that you can use to find out what you need during these times. And just I don't want to say just do it, but because it sounds crazy, but that's actually what I would say. Yeah, listen to yourself, what you need, and try to do that.
Great. Thank you very much, Viola. Thanks a lot. I mean, this was just a wow talk. I think. I mean, pretty personal, pretty very deep there, and I'm sure there are a number of people who do not find the courage to talk about it, but they may pass through some difficult moments, hard minutes, hours, or days, but they don't know what to do with that and how to survive that. And probably if they hear your story, they will find like, yeah, we can do something as well, and we can open our eyes and try to accept the situation and do something about that.
Yeah, and also when you have friends who became depressed, for example, it's so important to be there for your friends and just to listen without giving any smart advices. Just always ask your friend what they need and how you can help, or just tell them that you are there, you're going to support them, whatever they need, and to not put pressure on them either. Yeah.
That's a great advice. That's a great advice. I mean, we fall sometimes in the trap of, again, like saying, being over optimistic or over cool about these things, but a lot of times people just need to see that there is someone for them down there. That's it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for joining the call. Guys, if you enjoyed the conversation, please press like button, share with your friends, share with your community in your groups, etc., and join the talk. And finally, in these days, I start receiving some messages. Even from the beginning, these were more from friends, but now from the people outside of my friends are like, mate, I also have some story to tell you. I'm like, okay, great. Let's arrange the call and we will talk about that. And I'm really looking forward to talk to everyone down there, everyone I can talk to. And also I have some other ideas, but to make it more interactive and more live, whereby people can join themselves without my presence as well. So subscribe to the channel, follow the Facebook page, and we'll be glad to grow the community and literally just support each other. That's what the goal of this podcast is. And the most importantly, stay safe and take care of yourselves and take care of the people you love and your friends as well. And the same applies to you, Viola. Take care of yourself and your friends and family around you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.